If you love Baltimore sports, you'll love WNST.net.
But at the end of the day, you need to respect the power of this. In my case, I bought a radio station for $1 million in 1998. A bunch of partners got together, we bought a company. If I wanted to buy WBAL, how many of you from Philly? Philly guys? I got some Philly guys. You want to buy IP? Where are you guys from? Give me some places. Maine. All right, so if I want to buy WEEI or Nesson, it's $100 million, $200 million, $300 million. People can't buy those things anymore, right? I bought a little radio station 15 years ago, and I'm now as big, if not bigger, than anyone else. ESPN's only bigger than me because they're more popular than me. But they don't go anywhere I don't go. It used to be, a fact of the matter that I couldn't get news to your dad at the 7-Eleven because I didn't have a printing press, and I didn't have a newspaper, and I didn't have trucks that delivered the newspaper, and I didn't have ink. All I had was a radio station. So everybody in the room, close your eyes. That's radio. You're hearing my voice. You can't see me. You can't see products. You can't sell products. I can't show you highlights. I can't show you what I look like, for better or worse. But in this day and age now, if I had wanted to buy a TV station in 1998, it would have been $200 million and up. Because there are only 3 or 4 in every city, right? If you're from Baltimore, channel 2, 11, 13, 45, right? Then you got your cable channels, right? Or your community college, cable, Wayne's World type stuff you do. So for me, the whole notion that I could video this off of this phone and broadcast it anywhere in the world is transcendent. And it's the ability for all of you to be your own media entity on Twitter, on Facebook, for your friends, on YouTube, on Ustream. In any way, all of you now have the ability. How many of you have a laptop? How many of you have a laptop with a camera? How many of you don't? All right, you're left out. All right, so we're going to get you guys caught up, all right? But at any point, I got 1, 2, 3, I got 5 guys videotaping me right now. And that just shows you where we are now in 2012 that's different from where we were in 2008. And all of you remember 2008. So when I talk about the 1980s or whatever, I get that none of you have a vibe on that. But I'm worried for you and the future because I'm the guy that's going to hire you. So today, just as an aside, I'm doing a Baltimore Sports Media Superstar competition. I'm honestly looking for one of you 5 years from now, 8 years from now, depending on your age, 10 years from now, wherever it is. But if you're going to go out into the marketplace and get a job doing this, and that's what you're serious about doing, how many of you seriously want to do this for a living? Every single one of you, right? So I'm giving you really strong sage advice today that when I was 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, I had no ability to videotape myself and practice. You know what the old radio broadcasters would say? Get a hairbrush and stand in front of the mirror and talk to the mirror. Like you guys were up here doing your NBA draft thing with microphones that weren't plugged into anything. That was the whole idea of how to practice doing sports media. There's no more of that. For all of you that have a video camera, you can sit in front of the video camera every night and be Rich Eisen or be Dan Patrick or be Scott Van Pelt or whatever you want to be, whoever you want to be. You can do that in front of a microphone every day and broadcast it. And you know what? Some people might care about it and some people might not. And it's got to be unto you to make people care about it. And that goes back to what Jeremy was saying. You got to watch the draft. You got to read. You got to be listening to sports radio. You got to be up on what's going on. You got to understand the salary cap. You got to understand why trades happen. You got to understand why Ray Rice isn't signed right now. You got to understand why Joe Flacco isn't signed right now. You got to understand how baseball trade deadline works. You got to understand why Kevin Youkilis got dealt for a can of baseballs last week. You got to understand where Matt Garza is going. You got to understand what the CC Sabathia's injury in New York means. Now, I'm just talking about recent events the last couple of days. It's imperative that you know sports, right? And it's imperative that you don't stop learning about sports and asking questions and finding good resources on the internet, people that know more than you about whatever situation. And in my case, I try to read up on almost everybody to know what's going on in all the sports so I don't sound foolish when I get in front of you guys. But this is all I've ever done for a living. I'm really energized and excited about it. I'm not yawning this morning, and I'm doing an afternoon drive today. But I'm literally looking for people. I've got 31 adults. The youngest person I have in my competition, I think, is 19 or 20 right now. This is the 4th time I've done this competition. So it's interesting for you guys being on the internet. 5 years ago when I came in and talked about doing anything on radio, a lot of the kids were from out of town, from Florida or whatever. They didn't know who I was. They couldn't hear my radio station where they were because we weren't streaming at that time. Now all of you can leave here. You can all follow me on Twitter. You can follow me or friend me on Facebook. You can subscribe to my text service, my newspaper, which isn't a real newspaper, by the way. It's an e-newspaper. We deliver it in your inbox, your email inbox. We don't kill trees. I like trees too much. They help with the carbon. And you can stay up with what we're doing and stay up with not just my company, but you can stay up with the Baltimore Sun or Masson or Comcast Sportsnet or your local team or Baltimore Ravens or BaltimoreOrioles.com, whatever those sites are. All of that information now is streamed to your phones. Some of you are ignoring me right now and looking at your iPhones. Yeah. Syracuse lacrosse? Update? What's going on? A lot of bad stuff. All right. Yeah, well, it's lacrosse. What can we say? Oh, you're recording me? Oh, okay. That's cool. You're the first kid in this class to ever record me because the last time I was here, kids didn't have recording devices in the audience, which is great. So, I would give you the best advice. Record yourself a lot, you know what I mean? And put it out on YouTube and practice and get better at it. That's why you guys are here to camp. That's why your parents sent you away. If, at a young age, I wanted to do this when I was your age. 30 years later, I'm still doing it. And I'm making money doing it. And I'm employing people like you doing it. So I would highly, I don't know how many other speakers you've had this week, but I'm a guy who hires people. And I'm a guy who's looking for people that can do this. The number one thing, and I've gone through this all week, I've written a whole handbook at WNST.net if you guys want to read up on what I think and, by and large, an extension of this little speech I'm giving you. But the first skill set for me is not just knowing sports, being able to write. If you're not a writer, by the time you guys get into the job market's so hard right now, I can't even begin to tell you. I have 31 people trying out today and all of next week for a real job. They're going to come to my studio today, and they're going to do their first ever audition. And the one thing I notice about you kids when you're up here, you're not nervous. I'm going to have adults come into my studio today at 2:15, and they're going to wet themselves. Because the microphone's going to go on, and they're going to be nervous. They are. They've all admitted they're going to be nervous. They're blogging on my site right now. They've been blogging for 5 days. The competition is a 1-month competition. I do it in the summertime. Usually I do it because the Orioles suck, and there's nothing to do in July. But
this year?
Well, not this week. I've been to 2 Oriole games this week. I've seen them score 1 run. I drove to New York last Monday for the R.A. Dickey 1-hitter, so I know all about that. So I'm doing this audition today. I'll have 7 people today, 8 people on Monday, 6 people next Tuesday. We're taking Wednesday off. But by the end of next Friday, I'm going to have 31 people, 10 to 15 years older than you, who really think they can do this, who are coming to me as an employer and saying, hire me, give me a job, give me a chance. And their first chance is they're going to come to my studio beginning at 2 o'clock today and try out. And I'm going to put a video camera on them, and I'm going to see what they can do, and I'm going to see what the feedback is. And what I'm really looking for is their ability to write, their ability to not be nervous. It goes without saying they need to know what they're talking about, right? If they come in and they didn't watch the Oriole game last night, they don't know who got drafted in the NBA last night, they don't know what's going on with the NHL strike situation or the BCS revamping or what's happening with the Ravens in their situation with Terrell Suggs and whether Courtney Upshaw is going to fill in for him or not, if they don't know what's going on with the Orioles pitching this week, which is falling apart, and the bats are falling apart, they don't know all of that, then they're not going to make a very good sports talk show host. They're not going to make a very good employee for me. And honestly, they're not going to be someone that you guys are going to care to put my radio station on or go to my website and read what they're saying, right? So the audition part today is going to be huge.
If you love Baltimore sports, you'll love WNST.net.